Okay, in addition to everything that you've seen here, we have added a host manager. Now, there's a couple ways to get to this. We could click the change host here, and you notice here's my host, and then there's a manage host here. It's also a tool that we have, and you could click under CMS admin. We have it by default. Here's hosts. So now here you could see all my hosts. Now I could type in here, and we would be able to filter. And you can see it's all Ajax, very nice. I just started typing in there, type 3 characters, and it auto-filtered. Shows my aliases for me. I could right-click on this. I can edit it. We do have host variables as well now. With the host as content, it's probably not as big a deal, but you could, if you wanted, make them be variables as opposed to living on the host itself. But it's very similar type functionality, to be honest. You could stop a host. So in this respect, it's possible to have, say, 100 hosts, or we could say in this case we have 3 hosts, but maybe I really only want 1 or 2 of them to be active and working. And that's where, if you notice when we save the host, it didn't say save and publish. For those that are familiar with dotCMS saving of content, it said save and activate. So you could stop a host and you can activate that host, because it might be that that host isn't ready to be live. This host is not activated. Or you can edit the host, which we've already seen. Editing the host is going into that kind of the host as content and changing the actual content of the host. In addition to this, we have this add host button up here. Now we could just start and create a blank host. This is no different than what you've done in the past. So we could say host 1. We can give it some aliases if we want, and we could save and activate. Now you see host 1 is here. We can edit it, we could stop it, etc. What's new is that I now could copy from an existing host. So I'm going to click next. And what host do I want to copy from? So I have starter.dotcms.org. I've got test. I have new starter. I have host 1. Well, we have a bunch of stuff here on starter.dotcms.org, and then it asks me specifically, what do you want to copy? So I could click, in this case, it defaults to all, but it might be that you only want to copy folders, or maybe you only want to copy the content on a host, and we're going to come back to that and talk about that here in a minute as well. Maybe you only want to copy folders or files, pages, the host variables, etc. So this gives you a way of controlling exactly what to copy. A lot of times you're just going to copy everything. So we're going to say copy to host. We're going to say next. What is our host name? We'll say test starter copy. Say myalias.com. We could upload a thumbnail, and we're going to save and activate. You're going to get a nice little progress bar here that tells you here's where I'm going. Now I already copied a host, and we've called it new starter. So we had the original starter and the new starter, and just as a proof of concept now, here you could see we're logged into the new starter. You could also see it again in the crumb trail over here. But if we go to starter.dotcms.org, you'll notice you have here application. Here's your folder, here's Flash components, and again, if we go back to new starter, so as a copy of it, you have application, we have our Flash components, and you're going to get the same content of what we said to copy that's going to now be in here. In addition to this, we could hop over to templates. Now, we're at new starter. You could see there are templates in here. If we go to starter, and you can note, if you notice here as well, it tells you what host these are on. We actually have the same templates that live on starter itself. So you go to starter here, you see the hosts because it was an exact copy. So now we can change one, it will not change the other. Of course, you may not have wanted to copy templates. It might be that all of my pages pull from some template host, or a template that's on a default host or somewhere else, or some kind of template driven host, something that drives everything that's under it. Because this way it might be that when you change that template, you want it to change everywhere. In our case, we copy the template, but it gives you that flexibility. You could copy the host, but your pages may still point at a template that actually are on a different host. That way, when I change that template, it will change throughout, or that container, or so forth. In our case, again, we actually copied all of those. Okay, one of the other pieces that also is new in 1.9 is now content itself could be on a host. Okay, so here you could see we actually have a host, and we have a drop down here of the different hosts that are in the system. For every host that exists, you would be able to actually place content on the host. So what this does is it works in a way that it allows your content to live on a specific host. You can query for it, only get me my news items that are assigned to athletics.mycollege.edu, or that only get me the blogs or news items that are assigned to whatever department.mybusiness.com. So it allows you to query form that way, and also this affects the copy of the host, in that when you copy the host, one of the options was to copy content. So it could be that you only move content assigned, you copy content assigned to that host, and it gets copied, and then it assigns itself to the new host that you're doing, which gives a lot of different types of options, different flexibility. Not a super long webinar here today, but I want to show you the new permissions manager, which affects the host a little bit. It all depends on how you want to manage your site. But when it comes to multi-tenant or multiple hosts in dotCMS and managing many hosts, permissions is a big part of that. So if we go here to roles, we could click on, for example, let's find ourselves a good role here. Let's click on the CMS Anonymous role. We could go here to permissions, and what you could actually do is control almost at a host level. And you could do it actually at a folder level. You could drill inside these guys to the actual folder that live inside the hosts. But you could add new starter. So what I end up with here now is I have all hosts. So I could set the permissions, and I could cascade them down, but I could set the permissions at the host for what everything underneath should get. In dotCMS, with our permissions now, you could go and assign specific permissions to an object, say a folder or a page or a file or a piece of content under that host. But you could also say it just inherits from the parent. And in this respect, let's say everything under a host inherited from the host. You could actually come in and set what permissions do my pages get under this host? What permissions do my template get under this host? Now, right in this respect, it's in all hosts. And it could be that the other hosts basically inherit as well. Or you could come in and specifically say, okay, new starter has these permissions for content, for links, for files, and you could say, okay, can it add children, yes or no? So this gives you a little bit, can it edit permissions, yes or no? And you can see there's a little bit more granularity here than you used to have. This plays a lot into managing multiple hosts. You could do this at the folder level of folders underneath a specific host, or at the host level. Of course, if you cascade changes from here, what you're actually doing is saying all of the things that are underneath me, even if they had their own permissions, I want to blow their permissions away and make them inherit from me, and these are the permissions everyone should get. So you could do that at a folder level, or again, you could do that at the host level. A lot of flexibility, a lot of power that you get from when you start to combine the idea that, again, as we've done before, dotCMS can do virtual hosting with the aliases. You can run multiple hosts, one instance, you get your working, you get your live, all of the niceties that you get within dotCMS. Very, very cool.